The doctor finished his tests on all of her daughters and assured her she had nothing to worry about. He smiled as he talked, his demeanor friendly and calming. She thanked him and asked if she could make a quick phone call as she needed to update her mom on the situation. She wasn't out of the office for 5 seconds when it happened. This doctor didn't know mom was recording what he was doing with her daughters. When Carrie took her 4-year-old daughter to the hospital, she'd only wanted reassurance that what was keeping her little angel up at night was nothing more than a common cold. The drive to the hospital had been a long one, and since Carrie didn't have anyone to watch over her other 2 daughters, she'd decided to bring them along. She had no clue what she'd catch a doctor doing with them. Carrie Jackson Smith was your average 35-year-old mom living in Atlanta, Georgia. She'd made a name for herself as a real estate agent in her community, had a lovely house, and the best daughters one could ever ask for. Carrie raised her daughters all by herself after divorcing their dad a few years prior. Her kids, Lisa, Mindy, and Cheryl, were her world. Among Carrie's children, Lisa was the youngest at only 4. Mindy and Cheryl were 8 and 10, respectively. Carrie's house was always alive with laughter, no matter the time of day. But that week, she realized that Lisa, the loudest of the group, was withdrawn from her surroundings and quiet as she sulked in the living room. Carrie hurried to her daughter to make sure she was okay, only to find out that her skin was burning and she was sweating profusely while complaining that she was cold. After fixing her a bath and some soup, Carrie told her she'd sleep with her that night. She couldn't risk whatever Lisa had spreading to Cheryl and Mindy. Everybody went to bed that night, but no one slept. Lisa's condition had worsened, prompting Carrie to take her to the hospital as soon as the sun was out. Since it was a Saturday and Carrie had no one to watch over Shirley and Mindy, she drove to the hospital with them in tow. What they'd go through that day would be forever imprinted in her mind. The hospital assigned Carrie's family to one of its best pediatricians. Although she didn't know him well, she'd heard about his professionality, sprightly attitude, and unique approach to his patients. As they waited in the reception patiently, she hoped that Lisa's case wasn't severe and wouldn't hamper her from being the bright angel she was. The pediatrician, Dr. Carter, called Carrie and her daughters into his office. After a small discussion about Lisa's medical history, he asked the 4-year-old to sit on the bed adjacent to his desk. The doctor was quick with his tests, keeping a smile on his face and ensuring that little Lisa was calm throughout the procedures. He then asked Cheryl and Mindy to hop on the bed. Carrie had no clue what was going on in his head. Dr. Carter finished his tests on Cheryl and Mindy, assuring Carrie that she had nothing to worry about. "It's just a cold," he shared. "A bit severe on Lisa, but we'll write her something to help her feel like her old self again." Carrie thanked him and asked if she could make a quick phone call as she needed to update her mom on Lisa's situation. She hadn't stepped out of the office for 5 seconds when it happened. The first thing that Carrie heard was Cheryl's high-pitched laughter. Then came a deep chuckle from Dr. Carter. Lisa and Mindy laughed so loudly that Carrie decided to forego her call and hurry back to the office. She craned her neck into the room, her lips parting at what she saw. This doctor was supposed to help heal her daughters. What was he doing? Carrie knew she needed to record this. With her phone in hand, Carrie continued to watch. Dr. Carter was dancing with her daughters with music playing from his office computer. They were all laughing, a scene that glued Carrie to where she stood. Neither the doctor nor her daughters knew she was watching, and they continued to laugh as she recorded. Could anything be more breathtaking? As Carrie watched, she remembered the drive to the hospital. She'd been so worried about Lisa that she didn't utter a word for the 1-hour-plus drive. She knew her worry and anxiety had seeped into Cheryl and Mindy and could see that little Lisa hated putting all of them in this situation. She hadn't expected to see them laughing like this so soon. But it would get better. By this time, Dr. Carter had spied Carrie recording their dancing session and asked her to join in. He even asked her daughters to teach her some of the dances they'd shown him. Carrie posted the video on Facebook as soon as they drove from the hospital. She'd only meant to share it with her family and friends, but it suddenly went viral, changing her life forever. Carrie's video gained hundreds of thousands of likes and shares. Her daughters and Dr. Carter were at the center stage of the footage, busting moves as Carrie laughed in the background. Celebrities and media houses shared the video, showing that such simple acts of kindness were enough to light up the world, especially in times of crisis. People asked Dr. Carter why he danced with the 3 girls. His response left everyone stunned. Talking to a reporter from the local news, Dr. Carter said, "Some people I've worked with have told me, you get too close to your patients. Don't let your heart get in it. But to him, laughter is the best medicine, especially for kids who need cheering up when they are sick. I'm ready to walk away from medicine the day that my heart is no longer in it, he said. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.